Hey there, welcome to Watch Recap. And today, I will explain a sci-fi horror movie called Deep Blue Sea. Okay, so let's start. The movie begins when two couples were having their time on a sailing boat, but then something bumps into their boat. Out of fear, they loses their balance and falls into the ocean. When they were trying to get on the boat, they see a big shark approaching them, but it stops few feet away. Turns out the shark was shot by a man named Carter. The scene shifts to a helicopter landing on top of a building. Dr. Susan gets out of the chopper and meets her primary investor named Russell Franklin, who is not happy as a shark has escaped from one of their test facilities named Aquatica. She's trying to convince them to invest for her research. She is very close to develop a cure for Alzheimer and asks for 48 hours to prove herself. Later, Russell goes to the Aquatica with Susan. Landing on the facility, she introduces Russell to the marine biologist Janice Higgins. Russell sees a shark approaching a guy swimming in the ocean. He tries to alert him, but is surprised as the guy tackles the shark and takes out the license plate stuck in its mouth. Russell praises the guy for his bravery, who is actually Carter. Carter finds it weird seeing a businessman in the facility. Janice tells him that everyone knows he's here to investigate the facility. She shows Russell the 3 test sharks, which are much bigger than the others. Later, the crew boards a ship to leave the facility, handing the work to the skeleton crew for the weekend. Engineer Tom Scoggins teases Carter for using 2 shots on the escaped shark last night, while it can be killed with only 1. Carter says that Tom didn't lock the pens and so the shark escaped. Tom explains himself, but Carter isn't convinced. Carter then asks him how high the fences are. Tom says they're about 8 feet tall. Janice is with Russell explaining how the facility works while giving him a tour. Sub-level 1 are the living quarters, 2 is the wet labs and workshops, and the 3rd is engineered airlocked wet entry. Meanwhile, Susan is in her office working with Dr. Jim Whitlock. He tells her that the Gen 2 subject will be ready soon, but they are not ready for the experiment yet. Susan insists that they don't have a choice. In the airlock, Russell asks what Carter do, but Carter avoids talking to him. Carter also admits that he's loyal to his work and hates messing with the nature like the doctors of the facility loves to do. Russell is impressed by his impression. In the kitchen, Sherman Preacher Dudley prepares a meal while being insulted by his talkative parrot. To make it quiet, he feeds it whipped cream. The tower operator Brenda Kerna calls Susan to the surface. She comes and finds no one there, but is surprised by everyone wishing her a happy birthday. Everyone is enjoying the party night, while Carter and Susan flirts with each other and shares their ambitions. Janice explains to Russell how they enhanced the female shark brain size to gain more protein, which would help in curing human Alzheimer. Carter informs Susan that their test sharks attack their prey together and are hunting only other sharks. He thinks to test on them this early is a bad idea. Susan tells him if they couldn't make this successful, they all will be jobless by tomorrow. Carter confirms from Tom that they have increased the height of the fences. Next morning, a storm rages towards the facility. Carter and Tom prepares the defenses. Later, Carter is deployed underwater to retrieve a shark. 2 test sharks attacks the tunnel but goes away when he aims at them. They remember the gun and are smart now. Russell and others watches this on the monitor, which are soon attacked by the sharks and destroyed. They try to get back to Carter, but he doesn't answer the call. Carter, trying to get inside the pen, was attacked by a shark. He shoots it with spear and makes it unconscious. The shark is then lifted up in the laboratory by Carter. They scan the shark, monitoring its health. As the shark is asleep, Susan comes and places a device on its head. The shark tries to scare her, but she did it anyways. She extracts the protein from its brain. They mix it with cultured inactive brain neurons of an Alzheimer patient. Surprisingly, the protein works in curing the human brain cells, and they all are happy for their accomplishment. Jim, while smoking, comes closer to the sleeping shark. The shark rapidly bites his arm off. Carter rushes towards his spear as the shark goes out of control. But Susan drops the shark into the water before Carter could shoot it. Brenda quickly calls the chopper to send Jim to an hospital. The crew tries their best to keep him conscious and alive until the chopper arrives. The chopper can't land due to the storm. so Carter goes up to help it come down. As soon as they tie the stretcher to the chopper, they go back inside the facility, but the chopper loses control and drops Jim into the ocean. The rope is pushed by something which causes the helicopter to hit the tower. Brenda and the pilot dies right away. The crew tries to find a working camera to see what is happening. But instead, they see a shark taking away Jim's stretcher in its mouth. It throws the stretcher, which hits the glass and creates a crack in it. The sharks are trying to break in. They all get out before the glass breaks and water comes inside. They all open the jammed door to escape the room filling with water and a smart shark. Preacher tries to contact them, but the lines do not work. They all are trapped in sub-level 2 as the stairway is flooded and the elevator doesn't work. As the facility shakes, Preacher takes it as a sign and decides to stop drinking. Carter makes a plan, passing through the lab and reaching sub-level 3 and take the submarine to reach the surface. Meanwhile, Preacher follows a strange sound in the corridor and meets a wave of water coming for him. The crew hears a loud banging as they walk, and realizes a shark is trying to break in. The door is on its verge to break, so they run for escape, and makes it in time. Russell asks Carter if a shark has broken inside the facility. Carter says the shark breaking the door must be Gen 2 because of the strength it showed. Russell shouts that the shark are now hunting for them, and so confronts Susan to explain about the sharks. Susan says that the shark's brain were not big enough to extract enough protein, so they modified it, and as a result they became smart. She says it was for the cure of Alzheimer, but the crew is upset because she didn't even thought about the consequences. Meanwhile, Preacher, searching for others, is now being chased by a shark in corridors, so he runs for his life. He rushes inside the kitchen and picks a pan as if it will help him anyhow, but the shark goes the wrong way and he is safe for now. While searching for the submarine, Tom says that their fences will keep the sharks from escaping the facility. But then, they find the submarine destroyed in the airlock. In the kitchen, Preacher picks up an axe and climbs the shelf to stay out of the water. He sees his parrot, who then sits on a pot. Preacher tries to pick him, but the shark attacks the parrot. Preacher holds tightly to the shelf, but it falls into the water. He quickly swims into the oven and closes it before the shark attacks him. At sub-level 3, the crew is trying to find another way to escape. Janice blames Susan for all of this. Russell suggests to swim out of the facility to escape is the only way now. Meanwhile, the shark accidentally switches on the oven and starts to bake its food. Preacher uses the axe to break the upper part, and climbs up just before the oven door breaks. He jumps into the water as the shark is stuck in the oven. He throws a lighter at the oven, causing the kitchen to explode. The crew feels the vibration as they prepare to dive into the water. Russell is confident about the plan, but Tom is not sure of it. Tom instead thinks they should climb up the maintenance ladder, but doing this will release the pressure of pool, making the water level go up, and the facility structure will break if it goes above 3,200 tons. Susan argues him and saying that they should stay here and find a way to save the facility, but Tom says he doesn't care about the facility and wants to live. Seeing them argue, Russell shouts at them to stop arguing and starts to tell them how he and his crew once survived an avalanche together, which is much more dangerous than water. But while he was giving them strength through his words, a shark emerges from the pool and takes Russell into the water. They all are helpless and scared to see Russell getting killed brutally. Watching this, Tom is scared and decides to wait there for the rescue team to arrive. Carter encourages him to come with them as he will surely get killed waiting for the rescue team. They all decide to take the maintenance ladder, but as soon as they opens the gate, the water level destabilizes and water starts flooding into the airlock. The women starts to climb while the men catches up as soon as they close the doors. However, due to the kitchen blast, the elevator is burning and dropping fire. They have no choice but to climb up. But then, Carter hears a bump sound and realizes another shark is trying to break the door below, so he decides to open the doors of the sub-level 2 to direct the water there, which will give them some more time to escape. The shark breaks the door and the water is now rising rapidly. Carter proceeds to open the doors of sub-level 2. Risking his life, he finally manages to open the doors and quickly climbs up the ladder. By the immense pressure of water, the facility is starting to break. The structure shakes, causing the ladder to break. Janice falls into the water, so Carter tries to get her, but the shark is faster. They all are stuck just a little far from the door to sub-level 1. But then Preacher appears from behind the door and rescues the team. The stairs to the surface are also flooded, so Carter and Tom plans to drain the water from the stairways by activating the emergency generators. Carter and Tom goes down back to the flooded laboratory while Susan and Preacher stays at sub-level 1. Susan still wants to recover the research data from her room and so is called selfish by Preacher. She replies that all the deaths would be useless if the data is not recovered. Carter goes to the generators while Tom watches the area. Struggling through wires and stuff, Carter sees Jim's dead body and is terrified. Meanwhile, Preacher records a video of him in case he dies. Not sure what to say to the camera, he starts to tell about his omelette recipe. Tom joins Carter and they activates the generators, but Tom is attacked by a shark and is killed right away. It also destroys the control panels. Carter swims to open the door and manages to escape in time. Meanwhile, Susan reaches her room and goes to her locker to get the data. She is scared by a dummy shark from behind. But then, a real shark comes and dashes towards her. Susan climbs on a shelf but drops her data. She tries to pick it up but the shark won't let her. She takes out the electrical cable above her and standing on her scuba suit, she throws the wire into the shark's mouth, which electrocutes it in the water. But this also damaged her data. After reuniting with Carter and Preacher, they go into the decompression chamber. Since their plan to drain the stairways failed, they now have to swim up to the surface. Carter prepares a fire extinguisher to bait the sharks away, and opens the valve to balance the pressure in the chamber. As the water fills the chamber, the three hold hands as Preacher prays for them. The chamber fills up and Carter opens the shafts to move out. He then releases the fire extinguisher to bait the sharks into attacking it while they swim up to the surface. The shark attacks the fire extinguisher and they all reach the surface. While Susan and Carter reaches the platform, the shark attacks Preacher and drags him down. Preacher stabs the shark in its eyes so the shark loses him. Carter quickly fetches Preacher out of the water and Susan helps him with his wounds. Carter notices how the fences are drowning and breaking as if the sharks are trying to escape the facility. The shark is now trying to break the plain steel fences so it can escape into the deep blue sea. Susan finally suggests to kill the shark before it escapes. Carter prepares gunpowder-loaded spears, and tells Susan to hook the wire to the car battery as soon as he shoots the shark, causing a blast which will kill the shark. Carter aims at the shark, but it's impossible to shoot it as now the shark is below the surface trying to break through the fence. Susan decides to be the bait and cuts her hand. She goes into the water and attracts the shark towards her. The shark races towards Susan, but Susan fails to go back to the surface. Carter goes in to save her but it's too late. Susan is killed by her own creation. The shark now attacks Carter, but he evades it and holds on to its fin. The shark tries to get rid of Carter and eat him too. Preacher gathers himself and picks up the spear. He shoots the shark on its fin but the spear hits Carter also. Carter still wants Preacher to blast the shark. Preacher hesitates knowing it will kill Carter too. But Carter holds onto the fence before the shark escapes through it. Preacher finally connects the wire which creates an explosion and kills the shark. Preacher is happy knowing Carter survived the explosion. They both take a breath of relief as they see the crew return to the facility. But as of now, both Carter and Preacher are done with this job and decides to quit. This is where the movie ends. Subscribe to the channel if you love movies, like and share the video, we appreciate it. See you again.